when you go through the Google presentation there, they invent 5 different products, 10 different names. It's like one big PowerPoint. I just don't think that is the way to do it anymore.
The best announcement ever was Steve Jobs grabbing the iPhone and just going like, well, if I want to go to an app, all I got to do is tap on here and I'm going to send a text. And I'm like, oh my God, this is real.
Everything Apple does is very polished and so on, but Google is supposed to push the boundaries of technology and feels like they're making PowerPoints. Hey everyone, this is Heini and Hassan here, and welcome to Founders Weekly, where we cover the news for startup founders and tell stories we can learn from. Today, we are talking about disruption and the innovator's dilemma, specifically when it comes to Google, AI, and OpenAI. My co-host today is Hassan Basi. He is a founder, a developer, and a friend. Welcome, Hassan.
Hello, hello.
Let's go straight to the big story that we're covering today. We're only going to cover one story, and it's Google's journey from startup to incumbent that is being disrupted by the innovator's dilemma. There has been a lot of talk about Google, and they will be disrupted soon. It really started when ChatGPT was launched, but this Friday, Reuters reports that OpenAI is going to launch a search engine that's going to compete with Google. The plan was that this was going to be announced this week on Monday. So what do you say about all this? Is on a lot of action on the AI front, right?
Oh yeah, there's so much going on, especially this week. It's been a little crazy. OpenAI is talking about stuff. Google is talking about stuff. And then, yeah, we get Apple out of nowhere releasing a whole bunch of AI stuff. And then there's this, like secretive deal. But yeah, I mean, what happened? Did that deal end up going through, or that announcement? Is there a search engine now on OpenAI?
Let's get to it a little bit later, because I think the question is, what is a search engine, right? That's a part of the discussion here. Are we moving away from that? What is happening, right? As far as we know, the event came and went, and there was no search engine launched. But again, what is a search engine? So let's dig in a little bit deeper. Google is still the number 4 most valuable company in the world. And I would say, one of the most successful and profitable company ever. Still, over the past few years, Google has been showing some weakness. So the problem here is that Google makes money from people searching and then clicking on ads next to those search results. And in many cases, AI can deliver a better result for the users. So Google has not been willing to make the big shift to AI because they were afraid it's going to hurt their business. So that's really the reason. Let's dig into that. What is the core problem here, Hassan?
I mean, right. So again, like you said, let's dig into the search engine itself, right? The search engine, it's crawling a whole bunch of websites out there. It's getting information, it's grabbing keywords, it's ranking them in different ways. And then after that, it's just showing it to people. And then the trick as a business is that you pay Google a little bit. And when someone searches for something that has to do with your business, you show up first. But what if that's not what the consumer actually wants, right? Like, what if what the consumer actually wants is just a straight up answer? How can I get the, I don't know, let's say something very businessy. How can I get the cheapest groceries, right? Theoretically, you could have an AI sit there and look at the different things and just tell you, you should go to this store. So then why would someone pay for ads? And like, how would this ad structure work?
Google, right? Why is this a problem for Google? Well, it's a problem for Google because Google has an interest in not serving it right away, because I'd rather have you look at some ads before.
Right.
It really also comes down to that, the right product that people want is the answer, and the business gets in the way of the answer. That's really a problem.
That's massive. That's massive. And I'm not sure how they would solve that without, a really big change to what they're doing in search. Because that's the thing. They've been incremental so far, but
Yeah.
is that the route they should take? Like, should they actually stay incremental, or should they just redo the whole thing?
Well, what if you redo the whole thing? Do you still have a business?
Maybe, but it's kind of a thing where I'd rather have some business than none at all. But also, are we overdoing it a little bit? I mean, right now, like, let's say AI gets really, really, really good. I don't know, someone just chilling there, like, hey, barbershops around, and some barbers just pay a little bit more. Is that going to go away? I'm not sure.
No, but it's this core interest in Google having an interest in not giving you the result right away. We want you to browse a little bit. And when you browse a little bit, then you click on ads, and that's how they make their money. I mean, that's the core of the problem. Let's
Right.
jump a little bit into those products. So Perplexity is one of these new search engines that got a shitload of funding, and they are doing sort of an overview and just answer better. Is that any good? And what do you think?
I mean, Perplexity, I think, is solving a different problem. This is my I don't know. Let's just take an optimistic take for Google. Is that Perplexity is answering questions, right?
Yeah.
So how far is the moon? But again, going back to the like barber example, that's such
Yes,
a
the best
subject.
barber.
Yeah, like that's such a subjective kind of search prompt that you're putting out there that you kind of want to browse around. You want to see like different barbers. Like maybe sure the search can become better. They can show you different styles. They can figure out like, oh, this is what I like to. Um, you, you can even like send a picture of your hair and say like, hey, who knows how to do something like this,
Yeah.
and they can go around and give you some options. And maybe some of these options have ads like kind of baked into them, so there is something they can do there that's a little bit different, especially on the subjective end. On the objective end, I mean, I think that's the end of Google, of like, yeah, like how,
The old
what's
model.
what's the color
What
of
is the search
something, or
engine?
blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So but at the same time, I mean, how is Perplexity going to make their money?
Yeah. So I think there is a business model there, but if you're used to making X number of dollars, they maybe can live by making less money, which is also fine. Or it could be a paid search too.
Exactly.
But on what you just said earlier is what is objective, what is subjective, and so on. So we'll get to this in a second. But there were two events this week, right? OpenAI on Monday and Google on Tuesday, and they did actually launch something for this. So we'll talk about that in a second. But let's talk about the innovator's dilemma, because it's an old phenomenon. I just want to touch on that.
Hmm.
So basically, there are two kinds of innovation: sustaining innovation and disruptive innovation. Every company has to make a choice. Do we invest in sustaining innovation or disruptive innovation? Most cases, like a mix of both. Sustaining means you go to improvements and incremental advancements to the existing products and services, whereas disruptive is something else. It means building something else. But what we've seen from Google is that, sure, they've been willing to do the disruptive stuff. They just haven't been willing to release it. I mean, that's been my thing. Is like they just never had the courage to release it. What do you say about that?
Can I talk about the Google I/O yesterday a little bit? Or is it too
Yes, do
early?
that. Sorry, do that. Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, go ahead.
I mean, we're not going to talk specifics. I'm just going to talk about one thing. Yesterday, the most common word in their I/O was not AI, actually, although it was funny. People are already putting out
They made a
videos
joke
of,
about it.
of yeah, yeah. But it was actually, we are releasing, coming soon, late, blah, 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 early, blah, blah, blah.
US only.
US only. Look at OpenAI. OpenAI went up in front of the camera, literally live, with their engineers, and they just started talking to this super new insane AI. Like, and it was just like, okay, now available. Now that's it's such a Google thing that, and now no one trusts them because they have literally
Yeah,
faked demos before.
yeah,
So many of them. Remember that one demo, like someone calling and making an appointment and blah blah blah. It was
yeah,
fake.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just not acceptable from a company as big as Google. And so now I hope everything they talked about yesterday is a thing. They talked about so many amazing stuff, and we're going to get to them. But like you said, I'm not sure if they're ever going to see the light of day. And even if they do, I'm not sure if it's going to last like a couple of months or maybe a year. So even as a startup, as a business, if I look at some of these technologies, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure like if I should base maybe like some products, or like
Mm.
develop something on top of this, right? So
So people
massive.
don't trust that, and they
Yeah.
when you go through that Google presentation there, you just they invent like five different products, 10 different names, and all
Yeah.
those things, and everything is so polished, and it's like one big PowerPoint. And he said, "Hey, we said AI 120 times, and now I'm going to say AI once again," and then it popped up to 121. It was just one big PowerPoint. I just don't think that is the way to do it anymore.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. I mean, ever since, when was it the way to do it? I don't think they've ever gotten like the best thing, the best announcement ever. was Steve Jobs going, in front of an audience, grabbing the iPhone and just going like, well, if I want to go to an app, all I got to do is tap on here. And then I'm going to have my keyboard and I'm going to send a
Yeah,
text. And then someone got the text. And I'm like, oh my God, this is real. This is actually
yeah,
right there. And it's amazing. And everyone is just in awe. And again, this OpenAI announcement on Monday was incredible. The
yeah.
stuff they
We'll touch on that
did.
in a second too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yes. And again, everything Apple does is very polished and so on. But Google is supposed to push the boundaries of technology, and it just does not feel like they're doing that right now. It feels like they're making PowerPoints and just presenting things that are going to release at some point.
Yeah. Exactly.
And this is the other
Exactly.
thing, like it's this ChatGPT, OpenAI. They always release globally, or mostly release globally, and everything Google does is US only, and that also annoys a lot of people around the world. And why is that? I mean, there are certain things. Meta did this with threats because of GDPR in Europe, and so I think that's fine. But there's no other reason than that. Why wouldn't they release it first in Europe or somewhere else? That just they lack courage again. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much of it is courage versus just dealing with regulation, right? They've been bitten by regulation quite a bit before. I mean, Twitter did not release Grok in Europe either. OpenAI, for the first time, did not release in Europe for a little while. Eventually, they were like, okay, what are we doing? This is dumb. We should put it out there. So
Yeah.
I get it, but at the same time, I think you're right. I think there needs to be a little bit more. Like, why wouldn't you do all that regulatory work up front, actually, and actually release something? I think that's what OpenAI realized, and a whole lot of other companies like Perplexity, etc. They're just like, okay, this whole America first thing is kind of dumb.
Yeah, and sometimes it isn't really. It's just a default thing. Hey, you worried about the servers or whatever it is, and it does annoy people around the world. I think also some of the big companies are saying to Europe, "Hey, it's because of your regulation we're doing this." So they're also playing a little bit of a game here, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. At the same time, Google saying, oh, we're worried, we want to like ramp up, and they have one of the biggest cloud services on the planet.
No, it's crazy.
Come on.
Yeah, it's BS. Okay, we are back. And now I want to go back in time a little bit, a time before Google. So back when Google was actually a startup. And what people don't think about is there were lots of search engines out there before Google, but Google changed things. Google was founded in 1998 and was just a lot better than other search engines at the time. The key was the ranking. They used rank links to rank what should be ranked highest on the search page. It just came out like a much better search, and they just ranked things better. In a very short time, Google just took over the market with a better product. And I think the founders of Google, Sergey and Larry, saw this. And as much as they liked winning quickly, it also spooked them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right, because what happens is they can see, oh, okay, so someone can come along with a little bit better product and then win really quickly. And that's what I want to talk about now, because they were really, really smart. Because unlike AltaVista and the other search engines that are not around anymore, Google is around. And they are around because they build moat, not just a little bit better product, but real moat. And I want to dig into what that is and how they did that. So let's start by defining what moat is. And let me just, the literal word is from medieval times when you built a big castle. The moat is the water around the castle that protects you. So I think the key here is, yes, you can build an amazing product, but you do need some moat so that everybody doesn't run away with everything right away. What do you say, Hassan?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is just part of, I think, building any business from even like you said, like even from the medieval times, right? You had to
Yeah.
have this something special about you, or like something that no one else can do, or something even that, yeah, like protect is a very good word. Like, how do you think Google is protecting themselves here, or like what's the first thing they did to protect?
Yeah. So what they did is, so in their head they thought, okay, what happened? How did we win, and how do we avoid the same thing happening to us? And what they did is that we need to lock users in. We need to get people more connected than just a search. Just a search means I can go to a browser, I can put google.com, I can put bing.com, there's no switching costs. We're going to change that. And what they did there is they built massive amounts of platforms: Gmail, YouTube, Chrome, Maps, Android. I mean, the assets that
Yeah.
Google has are insane. People are super tied in, and they link the search into all that.
It's nuts. It's nuts. A lot of people always ask me, what's the point of Gmail? They must be reading our emails. How do
Yeah,
they make money? How is it free? It's like
yeah,
you have a Gmail? Yes. Okay. That's it. That's all they
yeah,
care about is you are tied to Google now.
yeah,
Your search results are more personalized. Your Google Maps search history is tied to your email account, which is also tied to your Google account. And it just works so nicely together, right? So
yeah.
Apple has a bit of that too, right, with their different products. So
Totally.
once you
And
have
they're all
different
trying to do that, right?
platforms, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So it's about tying you in and increasing those switching costs. All that said, there is also they've also done deals outside. So why is Google everywhere right now? It's also because they have distribution deals with others, right? And the mother of all distribution deals when it comes to this is Google being the default search engine on the Apple iPhone. And there are some there's some words about how much they pay for that, but it is obscene amounts of money they pay for that. And so Apple is happy, and I guess Google is somewhat happy too.
Of course.
Um, but then I want to talk a little bit about what also happened recently was that there is a rumor that OpenAI is about to make a partnership with Apple, right?
Yeah.
And that partnership is not going to be about search; it's going to be about AI, maybe Siri, and so on. What's the latest we've heard on that?
I mean, yeah, it seems like we saw OpenAI's announcement. We're not going to talk about it a lot, but basically they have this amazing back and forth model that can take in audio and video and text and blah blah blah. That's what Siri has always been trying to be.
Yeah,
That was the dream of Siri from day one. So I am absolutely sure Apple's like, okay, I mean, they did it. This is amazing. It's going to take us a very long time to build. This was not easy, right?
no,
So why not bring it over to our users? This has got to be the play. Anything else? I mean, remember they do have a deal with Gemini with Google as well on AI. So I wonder what's going on there with that too. And I
yeah,
doubt it's going to be towards the same kind of stuff. It might just be an upgrade because what you're talking about with that initial deal of search, where someone just like searches and it defaults to Google. This can also be where someone asks the iPhone something or even searches and it just defaults to some kind of Gemini AI answer versus
yeah,
going through the search engine, which again eats from the whole search engine business.
yeah,
There,
totally.
it's very messy. It's very messy, and honestly,
But yeah,
Google is the biggest loser. I just,
Google looks, yeah, it
yeah,
looks like it's only moving in one direction here, right? And
yeah,
even if they hold on with all the moat they have and so on, and this is why Google is not going to disappear tomorrow. Even if they, let's say they have an inferior product, it's not quite as good as everybody else. The moat will keep them alive for some time, so they will have some time to catch up. The problem is that if it breaks the business model, then that's a huge problem. Let's sometimes technology just kills your business literally. So Kodak, um, you know,
yeah.
most people know what it is. They built these, they sold these cheap cameras, but they really made their money on developing films. And when the digital camera came along, their business just disappeared. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we can start producing digital cameras, but it's not nearly as profitable as anything else. So their core business just disappeared with technology. This could happen to Google, where they make most of their money could just disappear.
Oh, absolutely. And Blockbuster, like
Yeah, they're all it's full of them. It's full of them.
it's really full of them. What's interesting though is that Google has tried. I mean, let's not forget they started AI. They
Yes.
invented the transformers. They have been working on chips. They made giant data centers. They innovated in development. They made Android, like you said, enabling developers. There's so much that they have tried to do, and I'm not sure, again, it's an like do you I'm not sure it's an innovation problem or a lack of smart people. We talked earlier on this podcast, I think maybe episode 1 or 2, about just the structure that's going on at Google, how
I
they
think so.
make decisions, how they release stuff. something is really up, because these people keep coming up with really amazing things, but they just have a serious go-to-market problem.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the one thing that was released and maybe test it here as we can. This is a podcast, so certain things we be good at testing. But the OpenAI thing, they released something called ChatGPT 4.0, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So, oh boy, what is ChatGPT 4.0? I would say it's this new ChatGPT that can understand text and audio and video at the same time. So the difference between this and, let's say, you uploading a picture into ChatGPT 4 is that when it does that ChatGPT 4 uploading thing, you kind of upload it and it runs it through some engine and it does some OCR and figures out what's going on. And then it feeds that into the text modal and says like, hey, this is a picture of blah, blah, blah. And then that text modal decides model decides how it wants to reply to you. So it's kind of different models talking together, blah, blah, blah. This one is essentially a human. I mean, it's just it really
now you're
is.
taking it pretty far. I will say that.
I think so.
It feels like
It because it's taking in everything at the same time in the way it is. So one actually giant aspect that people overlooked, when you try to generate images with AI that have text in them, always, not almost always, the text is some gibberish.
Yeah,
Because
it's super weird. Yeah,
it's really weird. GPT 4.0 generates perfect text and images because it's all part of the same brain. It just gets it. It's nuts.
Wow.
It's nuts. So there's so much to unpack there. And I think that the tech world probably was shocked on Monday. People may have been underwhelmed, but I'm telling you, people are going to start realizing in the next couple of weeks how much of a massive difference this is. And this is still, in their head, a 4 model. It's not even 5, which they said is coming later this year and is as much of a leap from 4 than it is from 3. So,
yeah. I mean, the one thing that I noticed was, and this takes us back to Google and the search, is that how fast it was, right? And we've also covered Humane AI and Rabbit on the podcast before, which is these physical AI devices that were sort of conversational, right?
yeah.
And when you do that, speed matters a lot. And what they did here was it just blew my mind how fast it was.
Oh my God, for me, this was hilarious. I mean, they killed this rabbit thing in 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's over.
Why would you? That's over. I mean, thank you. It was fun, guys. You know, it was cute. I really liked the rabbit product. Right, we talked about it. It was just a really nice in terms of the physical aspect of it. It's gone. I mean, this is 100 times better.
But actually, Hassan, let's try this out. And I want to make sure that we're not going to edit this part, at least not for speed. So let me take up my phone here and just click here and see if I can start a conversation. Just so people can understand how fast it is. Okay, so I'm talking to the new model right now, and I'm going to ask. So, what's the tech scene like in Copenhagen?
Copenhagen's tech scene is vibrant and rapidly growing. The city is known for its strong startup culture, with many incubators and accelerators supporting new businesses. Copenhagen hosts several tech events and conferences, fostering a...
And you can click to interrupt it, or I think there's maybe a keyword, but let me ask.
So here's, actually,
go ahead.
This is extremely important. You can just talk to it to interrupt it.
No, we're getting interrupted by it. So I'm going to stop it. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you can actually just speak to it to interrupt it, and this is not easy. This is one of the biggest problems people were trying to solve, is how can you have a very natural conversations where maybe someone is coming back and forth and you're interrupting each other and you're talking over each other and you're making sense out of it. No one has really solved that yet, and they solved it in this. It's just, if you notice, you can just go back and forth. You can interrupt it at any time. It'll just stop talking. It'll know the context of where you interrupted it and know to start from there, because it has generated this far.
If I ask it, does it know about this podcast? Do you think it knows?
That's a good one. Yeah, we can try, and on top of that, we can say that we're recording right now, and there's people on the podcast, and it'll interact with multiple people in the room, and it will. The problem here is that we're both wearing headphones, but if we weren't, it would be able to discern my voice also from yours, because it also has a voice modal built in, and it'll know when I'm talking and you're talking.
I mean, that is just wild. So I'm actually trying to start it now, and it's connecting. I think we crashed it. We crashed the entire ChatGPT. Oh, it says connecting now. Okay, are you ready? So actually, the ChatGPT, we are recording a podcast right now, and the podcast is called Founders Weekly. Have you ever heard about that podcast?
Yes, I have. Founders Weekly is a podcast hosted by Heini and Hassan, who is also the founder of Vivino. The podcast focuses on startup stories, founder experiences, and insights into building successful businesses. It's a great resource for anyone interested in entrepreneurship. How's the recording going?
I mean, it's incredible, and we're impressed by how well you're doing on knowledge. So is it any good? Like, what are the reviews and ratings saying about this podcast?
Founders Weekly generally receives positive reviews for its insightful content and engaging storytelling. Listeners appreciate Heini and Hassan's personal experience as a successful founder, which adds authenticity and practical advice to the discussions.
Wow.
Ratings tend to highlight the value of the interviews and the actionable tips provided for entrepreneurs. Have you listened to any episodes yourself?
Well, yes, since I am Heini and Hassan, I have listened to those. Thank you very much. So what do you say? This is impressive, huh?
Okay. This is insanely impressive because, first of all, clearly they've been training this model for quite some time. So there's no way, like the cutoff was definitely before we started this podcast. However, how did it just do that? How did it searched clearly, right? But it did all of this in like a split second. They've done something here that is massive. And
next level.
This is insanely next level. I don't know who's going to be able to top this, really. Especially this was such a great example that you just gave by making it kind of go out and go to the real world and do something now. It did that almost instantaneously.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a new world there, and I think Google's going to be in trouble. And it also shows a lot of startups that like you have to use this in the right way. They are like when it comes to this, they're way ahead. So find your right spot when it comes to AI.
We haven't even touched on the video aspect, which is
no,
nuts.
Exactly.
Which is nuts. Like you can point the camera right now, describe these two people, blah blah, what's going on. It'll pick up actually that it's Founders Weekly because it'll also be able to immediately read text, not OCR it, just stuff like that. You know, it's really mind blowing, and I agree. I think it's important for startups coming up now to really figure out like how you can use the power of AI. Spot? Yeah, where's your spot? Where's your spot? This whole question, you know, am I gonna get is OpenAI going to kill my startup in 3 months? It's a very real one, and people should take it seriously. Like, should be responsible in a way, because there's also so much money pouring into AI right now, right? So.
We are back, and we have a couple of questions we want to cover here. And one thing is like a really quite fundamental one. And is it, will we do Google text searches 2 years from now? Or will it all be different? What do you say, Hassan?
Oof. If they innovate enough, maybe. And I think they are capable of it. I think they can do something enough. They still have a giant database of businesses through Google Maps and their small business program, whatever they call it. I think that's going to be probably their best bet kind of thing. Because as far as I know, that's still how most people use Google in terms of when Google makes money. It's when they're finding like a product of some sort, right?
Yeah, exactly. So on the Google I/O, they did launch one thing which relates to what you said earlier about the barbers, and it's called AI Overview. And this was a little bit of that. Okay, not just rank things, but sort of, I'm going to say, think about it, but give me a real overview of what's relevant for me in this particular case. So they're trying to move into that direction. Yep. Again, the problem is if you give me too good an overview, I'm not going to click on any ads. So did you see that part of the presentation?
I saw that. There is one aspect of that I wanted to comment on that probably people overlooked, or maybe they didn't talk about much. The UI that they were generating was generative UI. That means depending on what you're searching, they're creating an entire user experience that just works for you. I think we
That's
talked
cool.
about this a long time ago. Vercel, I think, did this with this like one of their things. But Google is now putting that in search. That is very cool because now they're going to be able to give people like exactly the user experience they need. Can they sprinkle some ads in there? I think so. Why not? I mean, it's weird, right? It's weird because
Yeah.
this whole thing with AI being like, do we trust it? Do we not? And now like, oh, you can pay the AI a little bit of money and they'll tell you something. But that's
Yes. Yeah.
just how it
It's
is.
trickier. But the thing is, when you say sprinkle some ads in there, sure. But the thing is, with normal search, is that there is no ad that is better than that because I'm telling the search what my intent is. My intent is I'm looking for this thing. Look, Meta lives off ads too, and it's great. They have a great business. But search is the best ads business in the world. You're telling me what you want. And if I can give you a little bit of an unclear answer, you will click on some ads.
Yes, I think people are still, again, underestimating the subjective aspect of it. Yes, I know what you want, but it's also marketing, right? It's also, I have all these different vendors. And depending on how they're structuring their search ads or these pictures on their websites, I might go and look at one shoe and like the way it looks a little bit more because the lighting is a bit better when they did the photo shoot.
Yeah.
And that is a paid ad, right?
Yeah.
And Google doesn't necessarily, or the AI doesn't necessarily know like what I'm going to pick, but it's going to give me a few options. So
Yeah. And I think it's just going to be a little bit, look, they're just not going to have this easy a time with their ads. It's just going to be a little bit harder, which leads me to the next question. Will AI kill Google's primary business model?
no, it won't kill it, but will search be Google's primary business model?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? I think what they need to do is they have to win on the product side. They have to deliver the best search product and then figure out how to put ads on there. If that means cutting down their ads revenue, deal with it. And
Yeah.
they'll optimize it and it'll be great at some point, but that's the
Yeah.
way it is.
Yeah, they're also I think like releasing a new chip or something late
Yes.
2024.
Yeah, yes. Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. But that's cool. They're going into they're going strong into the chip industry, which is also blowing up now. So they are trying to kind of go a little bit into everything. Usually is not good news for Google. Unfortunately,
No,
they're not so good at diversifying. Really, they're really good at focusing on one thing for a while, making it really good, then moving on to the next. At
yeah,
least from what I can see.
but I think you have a really good point there. If you look at revenue streams too, again, they are doing other business like Google Cloud and so on, but the
Right.
search is still the bulk of the business, and they have to figure out how to make money out of this.
Because this whole podcast, I've been dying to kind of flip the table on you a little bit. So
Oh God, now I should walk away.
Yes, no. I think you got this. So what about Vivino? I mean, have you guys like experienced some kinds of innovator's dilemma? Have you been disrupted before? I know you definitely came in and disrupted the scene. Have you worried about like, oh shit, looks like we need to change our business model? Like, has this happened before?
Yeah, I think. Oh my God, this could turn out to be a long podcast at this point. But look, we've really changed the business quite a lot, especially post COVID, really. So what happened was that we did incredibly well during COVID. Everyone's buying wine, and then we got a little bit of a COVID hangover, and then realized we really had to change things. So we added more ads into the product, but also launched a paid version of the app. And those were like pretty radical pivots that now mean we're in a much better position than we were a couple of years ago. From disruption, we talk about AI all the time, and so should we, right? But our mode is incredibly strong. Like nobody has the data that we have, and sure, all these guys are gonna, they are gonna suck as much data out of everything as they can, but like they can't really use our brand, and they can't really say all the things we can. I mean, if anyone's going to build the best AI sommelier or whatever it is going to be us because we have the data to do it. So I think the data is really our mode right now.
Okay, that's super. That's super. And you said like the premium business is going really well, and that was a pretty radical shift.
Totally. We are crossing 100,000 paying users in the next week. So really pleased with that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
I had no idea, actually.
We launched 8 months ago, and now we're at 100,000.
That is massive. Congratulations,
cool.
actually.
That's pretty cool.
That's
Thank you
nuts.
very much. Yeah,
damn it. I couldn't flip the table. It actually got flipped on me.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm always very happy for you and the team's success. That's awesome.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna move forward. So, how are we doing with the podcast? And like, honestly, the podcast is doing great. The last episode we did also with you, Hassan, was incredibly good. We had the Bark Air story
Yeah,
on, which was really fun. And it was also episode 9, and I had sort of committed to doing at least 10 episodes. And this is number 10. And look, I'm gonna keep going for
let's
now.
go.
Let's go. And we are seeing growth, and it takes a while to grow these things, but I enjoy it, and I think the people around me, like you, Hassan, enjoy it too. So we're gonna keep going, and but gotta keep that growth coming.
Absolutely, absolutely. I honestly, I mean, what do they say? Controversial opinion, even if it doesn't grow, like you said, I'm enjoying this. It's been really really nice, kind of, and I'm sure the other co-hosts are too, and same with you. So it's really fun. And again, when I think we're building some moat
Yeah,
over
totally. We are.
over
We are.
time. So I think
What
that's
kind of
always
feedback
nice.
are you getting, Hassan, on
Lots
the
of
podcast?
great feedback. Like, it's funny because I have friends from all over. I think there was this one episode we did where we talked about, I don't know, something in finance, like secondaries or something, that secondary fund, right? And I'm really bad at this stuff, right? And my friend, who's like this finance bro kind of thing, is like, okay, dude, I need to sit you down and like teach you about finance.
Yeah.
And so that was funny. But overall, I think, yeah, people find it very interesting and fun, and it's great, especially because I think, simplify a lot of things going on in tech and business and stuff, and people can be very overwhelmed. So, yeah,
There's a lot going on.
there is.
Cool. Thank you, Hassan. And we've come to the end. Please make sure you follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and please do leave a review and rating. It really helps. For all of you on YouTube, make sure you check out Raw Startup, where there's a lot of videos on how to build a great startup. This has been Founders Weekly. Stop listening, go build something.